In the second chapter of the first Skanda, we have Sutta describing the nature of Bhagavan, giving first the answers to Shaunaka and the Rishis. He says, the knowers of truth declare that knowledge alone as reality, which does not admit of duality. In other words, that which is indivisible and one without a second, and which is called as Brahman, Paramatma and Bhagavan. He says, Vadanti tat tattvavid tattvam yad jnanam advayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavan iti shabdyate. So this is a verse that is very often quoted from Bhagavatam too, very beautiful verse. Tattvavid. Tattvavid means those who know the essence of truth. Those who know the essence of truth, they say, Vadanti tat tattvam. They say that is truth. What is the truth? They say, Yad Jnanam Advayam, which is free of duality. Advayam means without any duality. So normally, duality is how all knowledge is given. When we look at any knowledge, there is always duality between the knower and the known. Therefore, all knowledge normally is in the realm of duality. But that knowledge or that wisdom which transcends duality is true wisdom. So that is the wisdom which does not admit of the duality between subject and object. So normally every aspect of knowledge, whether it is scientific, whether it's religious, any knowledge, there is the knower, the subject, and there is the known, the object, and therefore there is the duality. But if we recognize that the very knower and the known are non-different, the knower is the known, then that is true knowledge, true wisdom. So that's why it's called as Advayam, where it points out that the very knower, the subject, is nothing but the intelligence, the ego, the intellect, all of that put together that rises, and the very known, which is the object, is also just memory, experience, knowledge. And all of this, both the subject and the object, is only an expression of the divine energy, the divine will. So there is only the divine will that manifests as the apparent subject and apparent object. And underlying the divine will is the pure consciousness, which is the true subject, which is unaffected by the activities of the divine will. And therefore, there is no true distinction between the subject and the object in the ultimate sense, because both the subject and the object are only an expression of the divine will. So that's why it's called Jnanam Advayam. And he says further, very famously, Brahmeti Paramatmeti Bhagavan iti shabdyate. It is called as Brahman, Paramatma and Bhagavan. So Brahman is literally, the word comes from Brihat, which means that which is infinite, that which is cosmic in nature. So Brahman is that which is all pervading, that which is everywhere, unborn, omnipresent. So this divine energy is what pervades everywhere. So that's Brahman. And then Paramatma is the indwelling spirit. So the same all-pervading Supreme Brahman is the indwelling spirit as Paramatma. So Paramatma means the Supreme Self. Normally when we refer to self as I, we are actually referring to the so-called ego, which in reality doesn't exist. It is only provisional. With each thought, there is a corresponding I, and that egoic I is truly not what can be called as Atma. It is only Ahankara, as it's called, and that is that which rises with the thought. So each thought has a thinker, each doing has a doer, each speech has speaker. But as already seen, they are all expressions of the divine will. Therefore, the thinker is the thought. There is no difference between the thinker and the thought. It's simply both an expression of the divine will. But the true self, that's why it's using the word Paramatma, which is the only self, is the supreme pure consciousness that is ever present in the hearts of all. So that's why Krishna says, Aham Atma Gudakesha Sarvabhutashaya Sthitaha. He says, I am the self of all, situated in the hearts of all. So that's Paramatma. And then Bhagavan is the expression for the physical embodiment of the same truth, coming in various forms. And in Bhagavatam, of course, primarily speaks of Krishna, because he's called as Bhagavan Swayam Krishnastu Swayam Bhagavan, it says, because when we say Bhagavan, it can be referring to great sages, it can refer to various avatars, and it specifically here refers to Krishna. So all of these are the expressions of the same truth. So that's why it says Brahmeti Paramatmeti Bhagavaniti Shabdyate. And then further he says, those who are full of faith perceive the truth as their own self in their own heart through devotion coupled with knowledge and dispassion acquired through hearing Bhagavatam and so on. He says, Tat Shraddhadhana Munayo Jnana Vairagya Yuktaya Pashyanti Atmani Cha Atmanam Bhaktya Shrutagrahitaya. So with Shraddha means with reverence, with sincerity, and with total faith. Munayaha, the sages, who are full of Jnana and Vairagya, Jnana Vairagya Yuktaya. That is, those who are endowed with this wisdom, and that wisdom goes with dispassion. And when this wisdom and dispassion are together found, then they Pashyanti Atmani Atmanam. They see within them only this one true self, Bhaktya Shrutagrahitaya, with devotion and love, through listening to the words of Bhagavatam, the words of the great sages, great jnanis. So that is the way to recognize, as already mentioned in the second skanda, it comes later, where Bhagavan enters through the ears into the heart, it is said very poetically. So when we hear with sincerity, then it removes the dust of all the egoic identifications and attachments in the heart, and it reveals the truth of the heart, which was revealed in the last verse. So he who is ever present in the heart, and that divine will which alone manifests as all actions, all thoughts, all feelings, one recognizes it with jnana and vairagya, with wisdom and dispassion, by listening to such scriptures as Bhagavatam with Shraddha, with reverence and sincerity, and thereby has abiding loving devotion for the Supreme Self in one's own heart. So that's the essence of the process of realizing the truth. And with this, nicely, Suta Maharishi describes both the tattva, tattva means the essence of the truth, and the process of realizing it through Shraddha and listening.